Neuroglia, or simply glia, makes up about half the volume of the central nervous system. Glia refers to glue and is derived from the idea that neuroglia are the glue that holds the nervous system together. Neuroglia are typically smaller than neurons, although they're 5 to 25 times more numerous. They don't generate or propagate action potentials, but they have several other functions. Of the 6 different types of neuroglia, 4 are found only in the central nervous system, while the remaining 2 are present only in the peripheral nervous system. So starting with neuroglia found in the central nervous system, and our first type of neuroglia are astrocytes. And our astrocytes are these blue star-shaped cells here, here, and here. Astrocytes have many processes and are the largest and most numerous of the neuroglia. The processes make contact with blood capillaries, with neurons, and with pia mater, which is the deepest membrane that surrounds the brain and the spinal cord. And their functions include providing structural support to a neuron, forming part of the blood-brain barrier, which keeps potentially harmful substances in the blood and away from brain tissue. In an embryo, astrocytes secrete chemicals that appear to regulate the growth, migration, and interconnection of neurons among the brain. Astrocytes help maintain the appropriate chemical environment for the generation of an action potential. They also serve as a passageway for nutrients and other substances between capillaries and neurons. So, for example, astrocytes are the site of storage for glycogen or carbohydrate within the brain. And it's also believed that astrocytes may play a role in learning and memory by influencing the formation of a neural synapse, so the connection of a neuron with another neuron. The second type of neuroglia found within the central nervous system are our oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes, I think, look somewhat like an octopus. So their processes are reaching out from the body and they wrap around the axons of neurons. So our oligodendrocytes are these cells here and here. The processes of these cells are responsible for forming and maintaining the myelin sheath. The myelin sheath, which we will talk about more in an upcoming module, helps protect the axon and assist in the propagation of an action potential. One oligodendrocyte can wrap around the axons of multiple neurons. The next type of neuroglia found within the central nervous system are our microglia. These are the small green cells here and here. They have thin, slender processes which have little spines or projections coming out of those processes. Microglia or microglial cells function as phagocytes. So like phagocytes outside of the central nervous system, our microglia remove cellular debris, which is formed during the normal development of the nervous system, as well as any microbes or damaged nervous tissue that is present in these regions. Ependymal cells, which are these cells which are lining the bottom of the image here, are the final type of neuroglial cell found within the central nervous system. These cells are cuboidal to columnar cells arranged in a single layer and containing microvilli or cilia. So microvilli and cilia are these little fingers that you can see coming out from each border of those cells. These cells tightly line the ventricles of the brain and the central canal of the spinal cord. Again, these are spaces which we will learn more about in upcoming modules, but are spaces within the brain and spinal cord that are filled with cerebrospinal fluid, which helps protect and nourish brain tissue. Our ependymal cells help produce and assist in the circulation of this cerebrospinal fluid. And they also form the blood cerebrospinal fluid barrier. Moving across to the peripheral nervous system, and the first type of neuroglial cell we find in the peripheral nervous system is a Schwann cell. So a Schwann cell acts a little bit like an oligodendrocyte in the central nervous system, but it wraps around the axons of neurons in the peripheral nervous system. So a Schwann cell is this cell here, this cell here, this cell here. Like an oligodendrocyte, they form and they maintain the myelin sheath. This yellow structure here is our myelin sheath. However, unlike an oligodendrocyte, each Schwann cell myelinates only a single axon. Schwann cells are also involved in axon regeneration. So this is the repair of an axon following an injury, which is more easily accomplished and more common in the peripheral nervous system than it is in the central nervous system. Finally, satellite cells are the other type of neuroglial cell that we find in the peripheral nervous system. Our satellite cells are these flat cells here. They surround the bodies of neurons in the peripheral nervous system. So a cluster of cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system is called a ganglion. These cells provide structural support as well as the exchange of materials, so nutrients and wastes, between the cell body of a neuron and the surrounding interstitial fluid.